Today, I'm really excited to be introducing a new name and format called VCing by Braeside, where we talk to fund managers in quick, bite-sized format about their fund, their challenges, and their next steps. What we hope to do is inspire fund managers to share their journeys and for first-time managers to learn from them. Today, I'm again very excited to be talking to Orion Parrott from OrangeDAO, the DAO headed by founders of companies backed by Y Combinator. So good morning, San Francisco. Good evening where I am. Today on this podcast, we have Orion Parrott from OrangeDAO with us. And why don't we kind of kickstart this, Orion, and tell me 30-second background of you and the fund.
Yeah, for sure. Glad to be here. I went through Y Combinator in 2016 with a fintech software company called LensSnap. And before that, did an MBA at Berkeley, master's in electrical engineering. Worked in a lot of different industries from defense electronics to metaverse hardware. My last company was wearables compatible with the Oculus Quest that would go on the wrist, trying to improve hand tracking. And now running OrangeDAO with my fellow general partners and 1,300 founders that were backed by Y Combinator. And so our purpose, the reason we put OrangeDAO together is to support founders in crypto and advance Web3 by investing and by setting the founders we invest in on the fastest path from 0 to 1.
Now, OrangeDAO is I wouldn't say the first kind of investment DAO, but it probably is one of the first investment DAO associated with an accelerator. What do you think is the secret sauce of OrangeDAO?
I mean, it's really a big part of it is the community, and I mean, maybe that's not a secret, but yeah, beyond that is there's a legal structure that supports what we do. Like, we're an investment DAO that's not afraid of being shut down because we have structures in place that are compliant with all the laws. It's not a YOLO type situation. We've looked into it and developed a structure that is, as you know, we've spun out Origami to kind of syndicate and develop other investment DAOs that use this structure, which has been awesome and created a lot of learning opportunities. So the legal structure, and then also really just finding out what are the incentive mechanisms that really make a DAO tick, right? Because nobody has these answers. I mean, there's thousands of DAOs out there. There's a lot of different purposes. A lot of DAOs, maybe they run a protocol for liquidity purposes or something, and so they might have a very narrow scope. I would say OrangeDAO, even though our mission is to invest in and support the top founders in Web3, that actually becomes a pretty broad mission, right? And we're not a protocol, and we're a bunch of people making decisions collaboratively and trying to achieve goals around supporting founders, right? And so there's a lot of collaboration and a lot of figuring out, and how do we turn that into eventually maybe some protocols, but also incentives that work today and let us scale how we support builders.
So in that, I mean, it sounds like that's one of the main challenges is in forming OrangeDAO is the incentive structure. Is that correct? And can you talk a little bit about that? Or are there other challenges that are present currently?
Yeah, I mean, that's that is kind of the main thing, and it definitely goes beyond just thinking about it's not tokenomics per se, right? But there's a lot of different ways to allocate governance tokens, and really for us, a big part of it is let's see. To me, the having a DAO is really about creating possibilities for lots of various types of contributions, right? Whether someone has an hour a week or whether they want to join full time. And so right now, for example, we're bringing on more members in full time roles in order to enable more of these part time contributions. And so we've been around for about a year now, and we've been seeing organically how decentralization happens. But we're also trying to get very strategic about it and directed, right? And so, for example, one of the principles that we came around to recognizing is that decentralization does not mean you don't have leadership, and it doesn't have to mean you don't have a direction. And so right now we're in a process of we just had our season 2 summit where we brought together we invited the top 50 contributors in the DAO and brought everybody together to really align on the objectives for our new season and what are the key results that are going to help us hit those objectives.
And so to summarize, it sounds like basically how do you incentivize work, and how do you incentivize different types of work? And I guess that's also from a time perspective, full-time or part-time, maybe not full part-time, but kind of values of time.
Yeah, definitely part-time and incremental. If somebody wants to spend 30 minutes a week, we want to make that possible.
And do you think that's that's once you figure that piece out, then it can scale a lot more? And I assume this would be the entire kind of YC founder community as well.
Yeah. Certainly the membership is open to the YC founder community, and we're really bringing on full-time people to enable more of the part-time people. I feel like if we were only optimizing for the full-time work, that you wouldn't really need a DAO to do that, right? That would be a company, right? And to me, the essence of a DAO is letting people participate at scale in non-traditional formats and with flexibility. But what we've seen is to allow people to build permissionlessly and to show people where they can contribute and how they can contribute, you need a certain amount of continuity. And, for example, these systems generally don't just organically form. And so there is leadership, right? And it's not like the person behind the curtain. It's more about making sure we have continuity where there's some people who can put people in the right direction. So like when somebody shows up and wants to contribute to the DAO, they're not just contributing some random vector of work, but there's more alignment because people get the message of where this DAO is going, and so they can decide if they want to contribute to that mission.
Just to kind of press upon that a little bit more, have you figured out actually the framework? Is it a 3 part-time to 1 full-time? Has that been figured out, or still kind of early days?
I see. Yeah. So we're really kind of looking at it from kind of a minimally viable team that, we think is going to be, say 3 to 5 people in addition to what we have now. So maybe 5 to 8 people total who are working full time. This is kind of a guess. We'll see how it shapes up. And then hopefully from there that's enough of a team, right? Like you can build a significant startup or business with that many people, and that should allow us to focus the resources to allow like an unlimited number of people to contribute, hopefully, right? So I think we have figured some things out. We've been experimenting with different compensation frameworks, and it's really interesting just at the microeconomics of it, of people's concepts of fairness. Like you want things to be fair. And so people want to say, oh, well, my comp should just be the same as what this last person got. But then that doesn't leave room for experimentation if it has to be the same every time, right? So it's like, yeah, of course we all want to be fair, but we also need to give ourselves room to try new things. And so as we do more experiments, right, you see what works and what doesn't work. And then that leads to some pruning. And it's just been a really fun process working with amazing people.
Yeah, that's actually with Constellation as well. That's been kind of the hard part of it, is the kind of the people and the incentive structure, and it is interesting, but it's not an easy thing. Last question: any advice for first-time fund managers? I know this, you are not a born fund manager, so any advice that you would give? So
I think what I would say is, the importance of putting a team around you. But even, I guess, before having a team, there's a lot of platforms that can really help. We rely on AngelList, and they've been a great partner for us, and they keep expanding their business line. I'm not paid to talk about them, but we are really happy with their services. And, they started out doing syndications, which is basically, SPVs and single company investments. And then now they do fund management. At first it was up to 50 million. And now I know they're working on products up to 150 million. Orange DAO is currently a $50 million fund. And so it's a great time probably to do this, but you would want to survey the tools and see what's available that can really streamline it, right? And it doesn't have to be AngelList, but there's other platforms as well that can make your job a lot easier. And doing the financial modeling and kind of running the math to be realistic about, what's going to be sustainable for you, right? Because, the fees or the costs that you can cover, right? It usually depends on the assets under management, and it can take time to grow that, right? So it's really going to depend on your own, network and ability to raise those funds.
That's actually really good advice, and be realistic about it as well. I think, would you argue that like there's startup speed and raising speed for startups, and then there's a very different type of speed for funds and fundraising there?
I think that's probably quite true. Yeah. And we feel very fortunate that, just based on our network and connections, we were able to raise relatively fast. We were, oversubscribed. And then frankly, as the market turned, some of those commitments didn't come through. We're doing fine, but then it's like ultimately the fundraising process is still long because you want to raise a bit more, right? And so how you allocate your time, you want to make sure it's focused. And part of as a DAO, part of our mission too was to support our community and give our community the opportunity to invest. And that was, taking a lot of small checks. We have almost 200 LPs, and that's a different kind of work, right? But we're doing it for the community. So.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for your response.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here, Tack. It's great to join your podcast, and excited about what you guys are doing at Constellation.
Sounds great. Cheers.
Awesome. Cheers.